All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another SandStorm Meetup. Today, I'm joined by Peyton from Azra Games. How you doing today?
Good, good. How are you, Sharp?
I'm doing great. I really appreciate you coming on to talk with me today about Azra Games, what you guys are making in the Web3 space. Usually like to start off with a little bit of an introduction for people that are watching that might not know you specifically. What got you into Web3, and how did you get on the Azra team, and what role do you play?
Yeah, so I stuck my way into Azra, and I'll kind of get to that to the later side of the story. But I was actually a naval officer for 6 years, and then part of like that time in my journey with the Navy, kind of decided that I wasn't going to proceed like more of a career there, and so I ended up trying to find a way out. So I did like stock market analysis and everything like that, and then got into like really studying video games because I really love video games, and so I really kind of focused purely on that. And then from there, I like got into like a network with people like that told me about Axie, told me about Sandbox and all that stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the next wave because it's like just being a gamer. And so that's where I like fully focused all of that. So my brother kind of like orange pilled me, like told me about Bitcoin. That's how I kind of got into it. But then like I kept on diving deeper into like NFTs, crypto gaming, and I was like, okay, this is like where I want to be at. So I did like a year's worth of like content creation on like Web3 gaming. Made a lot of like YouTube videos about specific projects, Sandbox, crypto unicorns, all that good stuff. And then after that, like I made a video for Azra Games and did like a pretty deep dive onto their team. And then they took notice, and so they flew me up to Sacramento, and then we talked a little bit. And they said like, "Hey, you're about to be done with your Navy career. What about joining Azra?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And so I kind of begged the team to like take me on and just kind of be onboarded as really just a content creator at first. Then they kind of found out that I did some analysis on specific projects, and they're like, "Hey, would love for you guys to do some like analysis on projects within like the Web3 gaming space to make us better." And then also community management. I did a lot of things before I started a DAO called Wolves DAO that finds projects early, crypto projects early, and analyzes them.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's kind of how I got into like Web3 and then Azra. And so on the team now, I'm mostly a community manager. So I run the community. And then also I do analysis on different projects, making sure that we're keeping up to date, finding cool projects like Sandstorm and all that good stuff too.
Nice, nice. And do you still do content creation to this day?
I do actually. I just started up. We it was a mint for us was like just a few weeks ago. So I didn't really do a lot of content creation around like a few months leading up to mint and a few weeks after. But I just started kind of just diving into projects again and trying to find new projects for the community. So that's part of the stuff that I do for the community is to also have an alpha community within Azra to find upcoming projects that are coming out for Web3.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of NFT content out there on YouTube, so
No, there's not. There's not.
definitely a slot to be filled. That is a really cool story that literally made a video for them, and they're like, "Dude, we're flying you up to San Francisco, and we gotta talk with about getting you on the team." That is an awesome story.
Yeah, truly blessed though. Like, and we'll go into the team. I'm definitely probably the least experienced in terms of like video game design and content and all that stuff. But they just took a liking to me, and then I also there was a few begging to come onto the team too. So
Yeah, yeah, and I know like the team is massive from what I saw from the your guys' page, and two of the other team members that were going to join us today had an important call they had to make, so understandable. But Mark, I don't want to mess up his last name,
Otero,
Otero.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
perfect.
is he's known for EA Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, correct? So you have some people that are
Absolutely.
from the Web 2 gaming era, correct?
Yep, absolutely. And just to kind of go into a little bit of his pedigree, Mark has done 8 collectible combat RPGs, the last one being Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. But he started a company called Click Nation back in, he is on the screen, he's the left one. They're both gray haired. They're old. I'll talk to them about the right one, Sunny. But Mark has made 8 collectible combat RPGs before. So he's focused on one genre for a very long time. He was a dungeon master whenever he was a kid in South Korea, all the way till college, sophomore year in college. And then he got into creating video games after college was done. And so he started in 2008, 2010 with actually our now VP of growth, Ken Walton. They started a company from 2 and then like scaled that up to 74 people at Click Nation. 2008 through 2010, and then it actually got acquired by EA. So they were kind of early pioneers on the free-to-play space. And when a lot of people were making like these kind of tap games, like Cut the Rope and Fruit Ninja, they were really focused on like core games, really just RPGs, because Mark really loved the RPG element. He was a dungeon master for majority of his life, so he ended up just doing that, and then he focused purely on that. His first 2 games went successful. They were pretty successful in terms of like the free-to-play space on Facebook. And then it got taken notice, and then EA wanted to acquire them. And so 2010, they got acquired. Then he worked under BioWare for a little bit to make a Dragon Age game. And then from then move on to do Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes.
Nice. Yeah. And I mean, I was reading some people on the team worked on Mass Effect, different Marvel projects, Battlefield, a long list of games for sure. I guess, you mentioned that Mark had worked on collectible combat RPGs. What exactly is that like genre of game? Like, how would you describe that? What is a collectible RPG?
How we're kind of pitching it now for us in terms of Legions and Legends is like having your own toy chest of digital goods. Now, in terms of blockchain, it increases a asset creation and ownership to a whole new level. And so I would say that in terms of collectible combat RPGs, how it was done before was that you got to earn specific digital assets in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Like, for example, if like you had like Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker, you would collect them, you would upgrade them, and then like they would be in your digital toy box. But for us, in terms of Web3, the reason why Mark actually came back to Web3 or come back to video game design was because of Web3 and the level of ownership. And he kind of likened it and mirrored it towards like the character sheet in Dungeons and Dragons, where you can kind of you own that character. And so like that was for him that aha moment. And so he wanted to like double down on what he thinks was a natural progression for collectible combat RPGs, which was giving ownership back to the players in terms of like, now you own that Darth Vader, right? Yeah. Now like you could trade it and you could do whatever you with it. Very similar to like the Magic the Gathering that has a huge ecosystem now of trading and all that stuff. And we don't have that in the digital landscape. And he wanted to be one of the first ones that did it, just like free to play back in 2008.
Yeah. And was he very, I guess, crypto native before, getting into NFTs? Was he into Bitcoin, Ethereum, stuff like that?
He dabbled in it back in 2017, but never really got into it. And then he started coding on Solana in 2020, 2021. Don't fact check that. I'll get with Mark on that, what year he started. But he started coding on Solana's ecosystem with Rust. And that's when he started to kind of get into like, oh my gosh, there's layers to this. And then he also just started to survey the landscape for like video games and video game design. And so he took like that call to be like, you know what, I'm going to be one of the first people that actually make an epic RPG with like Web3. And so that was like his main calling for that. So in terms of like dabbling, he has, but like not as much focus as he is now.
Yeah. And I guess, if you can't answer this or not, it doesn't matter. What, as he had talked about, what are the differences between developing, I guess, a Web 2 game versus a Web3 game, that, incorporates blockchain technology and NFTs?
Not really, because he thinks that like in terms of the philosophy of fun is what he calls it. He said that there's fundamental principles to actually make a game. And that's like tried and true in whatever you produce. And so you making and leading with a fun game first, the blockchain mechanics and the way that we're actually developing the game is very much blockchain is as far as back in the background as possible, just for the fact that you want to be able to onboard millions into crypto and onboard millions of people into like NFTs. And the way to do that too is to give them something that doesn't have as much resistance or barriers as like the current ecosystem that we have now.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, as we're seeing playing on the screen here, we have Legions and Legends. That is Azra Games' first game that you guys are going to be releasing, correct?
Yep. Yes, it is. Legions and Legends is going to be the first game, and it's going to be a epic collectible combat RPG. It's a mix of like magic as well as tech. a lot of like Mark's favorite things and elements were like actually put into like, so he loved like Warhammer as a kid, like he loved playing like StarCraft 2. And so like it was just like a really cool thing to have like that Legionnaire at the end of that specific clip was very much like that iconic character that we wanted to kind of be known for, which was kind of our version of a Space Marine. And so, yeah, Legions of Legends is going to be dope. We're working on like the battle system mechanics right now, making sure that things are balanced and developing it and chugging along.
Do you guys have any, I guess, specific date for maybe like an alpha or beta or like a gameplay footage?
Gameplay footage early next year is the planned date. And so we're currently in vertical slice right now. And so we're making sure that everything is good and it works. The one thing I do like about Mark is that he's super high on quality. And so we don't want any type of circumstance there where like the game is not fun. And he's always somebody that has a very high standard. So what we're currently doing at the game studio is building and at a rapid pace to make sure that our first iteration of the game is fun and that people actually want to play it. Because, you know, no matter how much we develop, we don't want to make sure that like, we want to make sure that it's always fun. So if we develop it and like this vertical slice is not up to our standard, then we go back to the drawing board. And so really like, yes, our target date is early next year, but if it's not fun, it's not epic, we're not going to release something that's like not ready. That is definitely something that Mark drives from the very top from us, is that like we're going to make things that are epic and that our actual customers want. So yeah, I think that is big. And so yeah, up here on the screen too, we talked about some of our announcements. These are some of the past announcements that we did, and the future roadmap that we have is mostly Legions and Legends focused. We have some surprise and delights for the hopeful along the way. But yeah, we're going to be announcing our layer 2 and who we're going to be working with there fairly soon. And then moving on to gameplay demo and then alpha sandbox testing and all that stuff.
Yeah. And you know, as we mentioned there on the screen, the hopeful, that was your guys' PFP collection that released, right?
Yeah. No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask how many of them exist.
Yeah, 55. And we gave them away for free. And so the hopeful are what we claim as play forever passes. And so these play forever passes, what they represent to us is really connected to our Azra universe. And so whatever Azra touches, these passes are going to be able to touch and then also benefit off of what those are. So like there was a term, I think it was a news article recently said about like a factory NFTs, and what that kind of means in terms of like what that article was representing was that it's actually attached to the studio. So whatever the studio does, they're going to benefit off of. It's not like a Legions and Legends NFT. Those will come in the future, but it is mostly a Azra Games. So if we do make IPs in the future that are connected to Legions and Legends, they're going to be ones that benefit the most off of it. And then also some of the spirit of like the hopeful is like uncovering new things. I know you guys ran the trailer while we were talking, and it was really the hopeful are those characters that are unveiling Legions and Legends, and we want those characters and these hopefuls to unveil everything that Azra has. So they'll be the ones that have like the first sneak peeks and some concept art that is currently actually in our Discord right now, gated by the hopeful NFT.
And you said this was a free mint that you guys did?
Yep, it was a free mint, and we did that on September 28th, and we just felt as if like we wanted to give something to the community, and also like in the state of like the market now, reason why we called it the hopeful was because there is a lot of reasons to be hopeful, right? I feel like in the bear market, there's a lot of things that like we could focus on, but like a lot of games and like, you know, businesses aren't built overnight. Like Sandstorm, you guys have been taking like a lot of market share for sandbox, and like that didn't happen overnight, right? It's like constant grind and constant building and developing, and that's the same thing for us, right? And it's like video games and Web3 is going to take time. It's going to be taking iterations. It's going to be learning from each other, collaborating with each other, until we have like a good solid product to be able to kind of tell all the naysayers like they were wrong. And so for us, like the reason why it was free was because we wanted to reward those people that felt like this is the next evolution of gaming. And we wanted to make sure that these people are like our raving fans, and like we want to treat them as such, like red carpet service through that. So, and also we had a successful, so I also want to give a shout out to like our investors too, because we couldn't do this without our investors. because
Hmm.
we got like 15 million from Andreessen Horowitz, NFX, a lot of other luminaries. Thank you. Yeah, Andreessen Horowitz, NFX, Coinbase Ventures, Play Ventures, Franklin Templeton, Rock Capital, and some other like syndicate members as well, that really gave us the opportunity to do that. And that was something that we really want to thank. And also, we didn't feel right going to the community saying like we raised 15 million and then, hey, community, why don't you buy some more NFTs from us, and that stuff too. So we wanted to make sure that that was for our community.
Yeah, no, I mean that's awesome. And I was looking at the floor price. It was like you guys have like a 0.3 floor, which in this current market, a free mint getting to a 0.3 floor is very impressive. So
That is a testament to the community. Like, you know, you're always kind of nervous on the back end of things, of like people like, you know, because also like we give like information out, but it's like you never know how people are going to receive it. And like we're
yeah,
just really lucky to have like a very good community that like really took that information, did their due diligence of like what our team represented, our experience, and like you can tell in the floor price, and also the floor price during a bear market too. So we're just blessed to have like the best community for Web3. And like, yeah, the level of conversation within our Discord too is like very high. They talk about very like long-term thinking in terms of like how this game was going to be making and like the concept art and stuff like that. So interactions, I was like, I want to give a shout out to community, because I was looking at like the people that are hooked up to Collabland on our community, and they like voted on this concept art. I was like, oh, I wonder how many people like voted on this early stage concept art. Like it was like 2 or 3 days after, like only 1,000 people were on Collabland, and then like 500 people like voted on this concept art. I was like, that's 50% of
yeah,
like our community voting on concept art. Really freaking cool. This is our Legionnaire. And he's our like iconic character within like the Legions and Legends IP. And yeah, we just want to really nail the Space Marine. So like we could really put him in any genre, right? So we could put him in like a magic type of place, like a medieval type of thing, but at the same time we could put him in a tech. And so like we felt like we struck that balance, and there was like months of iterations on the Legionnaire to get it to a point where it looks really cool. But anyways, back to the community. I just want to shout out to the community because they are the best.
yeah. I mean, and I did want to ask you, as a community manager, you know, that is something that, I mean, not even like Web3, you know, NFT projects or companies, you know, they don't, not only are they trying to develop strong communities, but even like older, you know, like say like Twitch has a very strong community of like
Mhm.
people that only watch Twitch. Like they don't care if you're on YouTube or whatever, like they're built on there. So it is really impressive that you built such a strong community. And like, what were some things that I guess, you know, that you guys did to garner that good community?
First, like don't skimp out on mods. Our mods are like the best in the business, and you can tell by like their ideas and how they created the community to a certain point. And you know this being in Web3, like mods make or break like a Discord community,
Yeah.
and really holding it together, and like checking people like in terms of like a community. And I love it how like where it trickles down from like the team and then to like the mods, but then like to the gatekeepers and to this some of the hopeful now that understand the project enough that like there's like this thing that people come in and they ask questions that like they're answering before I even get to it. And I think the way that led it there is like mostly like starts up from the top. So it's like the team going in there interacting with the mods and like the early stage people to like give them all the tools that they need to be able to do that. And then also to make sure that they're the priority always, like being accessible to like in voice chats and like getting their feedback. I think last night I was give a shout out to 2 of the members, Kazu, and then also it was a gift from my wife, Discord ID, and they were just talking to me, and I was just kind of doing a feedback loop of like, you know, an idea that I was kind of sparking on like, hey, should we go the Discord route this way or this way? And they bring up really great points. And I think listening to your community and being extremely humble on the fact that like you don't know everything, because Web3, like no one knows anything, is
Yeah.
like something that's a really important trait to have, especially at this stage of development where there's like no playbook, you know, to build a community in Web3. It's like we're all building this together. So yeah, always feedback from the community.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. You know, the hopeful, as you mentioned, it gets you access to the Azra Play Forever Pass. Um, I guess I know we talked about it briefly, but if you want to give
Mhm.
more in depth on like what that exactly is gonna give you, and will there be any other collections that will get access to that, or will only the hopeful get that?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. For that last part, I just want to clarify it. So, like future collections. So, like for like, let's say that Legions has like a collection. Like you wanted to make sure that like those people get something. I'm just trying to clarify. Okay. Yeah. So for the hopeful, they are going to be like the red carpet service, no matter like what we do. So it always starts off at them. And for us, it's being able to give them really a pack. So like a legendary pack that Play Forever Pass is like the first thing that they're going to do is be able to have Legions and Legends like game pack. So once we have a live game, once you hook up your wallet, like you'll get access to like digital assets, either be like a Legionnaire or monstrosity or whatever it is, in terms of the in-game assets. And so you'll be able to like open that. And like further on in the game, we're looking forward to surprising, delighting them if they hold those NFTs. And then also future wise, it's really making sure that whatever IP that we create in terms of like other games or partnerships, that those are also going to get first piece. In terms of like other expanding, there are going to be ways and opportunities for people to participate in like Legions and Legends in any future game. We're like actually a free to play game. So we saw a lot of barriers within like the NFT gaming and Web3 gaming communities and games, mostly because there's so much process and like so much resistance along the lines of like, for me to be able to play a game in Web3, I have to learn like to open a Coinbase account and then transfer that over to MetaMask wallet, not get scammed in the process, and then go down into a possibly a layer 2, especially on Ethereum, with both of us being on them. It's a long process, and it takes a lot for people to understand that without like a really good incentive. So we're like, hey, how about the incentive being like really fun, right? So for people that don't have like a Play Forever Pass, like they're gonna come and experience this game without like any barriers, and then when they're ready, they'll experience crypto. You know, if you see like a Play Forever Pass person in there with a different like skin or a different logo, it's like, oh, how do you get that? It's like, oh, it's actually on the marketplace or it's crypto. So now there's an incentive to go through those processes after like they're having fun in the game and they feel it, versus like giving a promise of a game and then having to go through all those specific barriers to get to it. So that is one thing. So like our IP is a lot bigger than I would say the hopeful, but the hopeful is the front row seat, the red carpet service, getting complete voting on like concept art, especially like in our Discord. Like our artists and stuff read those comments. There was a really funny one that was Cletus, who's our like monstrosity. I'll make sure to get it for you guys. And I guess he has like skinny legs compared to like his upper body proportion. And like the community was just saying like he's skipping leg day, thunder thighs and all that kind of stuff. And so we thought it was funny. The art team thought it was funny. And yeah, we might be beefing up those legs just a little bit, just to make the proportions a little bit better.
Well, now it's got to be an Easter egg for the early adopters.
Yeah, exactly.
They know that they call them that.
Yeah.
Now, you know, talking more about the game, you know, it's a collectible RPG. I guess, what are some things throughout the game that you'll be able to collect?
You'll be able to collect like Legionnaires, so like your grunt units. So like some of those like people that you have, that one Legionnaire that was like on the skull bones. The skull bones also have like those are probably remnants of like monstrosities. And so there's monstrosities there for like you can like collect, or you can collect war machines. And so there's like really 3 classes that we have like currently right now, which is like the Legionnaire class, which is like the grunt unit, and then there's like monstrosities, which are like war machines, and then also more organic creatures, which is like monstrosities. Sorry, behemoths, which are including monstrosities and war machines. Sorry for getting that mixed up. And then so you'll be able to collect those specific units and like make that your toy box and be able to play with them. And so that's really where we're headed to in terms of that. And like you could collect them, mix and match them. And so Mark wanted to kind of get this feeling of whenever you were a kid and you had, let's say, a Power Ranger and the Army Men, and then also Godzilla, and all of them are different proportions, but you, in your head and in your storytelling, in your mind, imagination, like it worked, right? It jammed together perfectly. It was a perfect puzzle. And so like, that's what he's wanting to do, is like to have different types of like units, and they're in different sizes, but everything works. So like a Legionnaire can go up against a monstrosity and win, right? And that's what you want it to be able to feel like.
Yeah. Now, is this going to be like a kind of like a strategy game, or is it going to be more of like, I guess I primarily play FPS games.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
when
sure.
it comes to RPGs and stuff, I'm trying to figure out like what the gameplay is going to be like.
Yeah, I would say that gameplay, Mark said it on LinkedIn pretty well. It's like a mixture between like a RTS, a MOBA, and like a collectible combat RPG. So a collectible combat RPG that he's done is like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. So like collecting all those specific Star Wars characters, upgrading them, and then taking them to fight. Very similar type of concept for us, with also keeping some things close to our chest because we are trying to do something a little bit different. But if you had like a mixture and synergy of all those three items, I would say that you're starting to get into a ballpark of what we're building.
Nice. And will this be a game that is played on mobile, or will this be a browser game, or will you guys have like a desktop application?
It will be a PC first browser, and then moving over to mobile eventually, but that won't be our main focus. It will be mostly making sure and optimize for computer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then will it be, single player? Will you be able to play alongside, other people in the community, or will you be playing against people primarily?
It wouldn't be like an MMORPG, so it'd be asynchronous for you to be able to play PvE, PvP type of aspects based on like your units and everything like that.
Okay. All right. And then do you guys plan on doing any, I guess, live events like boss battles where it's like, you got to be here Thursday at 9:00 Eastern time. A boss is going to appear, and this is the only chance that you can fight this to get some rare collectible or something.
That would be dope. I'll pass it on to the game design team. Yeah, but the game designers are still kind of working out the kinks on that. Right now, we're strictly focused on the battle system and making sure that it's balanced. And that's where we're primarily focused on. And then the extra peripherals of like, boss battles and things on how to incorporate them into the game is going to be coming a little bit later. So you'll probably see that in the gameplay demo early next year.
Okay, awesome. And we mentioned a lot about upgrading your collectibles and stuff. And the big thing with NFTs is you have ownership of it, and you are able to transfer it. Say if you're done playing the game, or if you just want to level up certain collectibles and then sell them, are you able to do that? Is it something that where the ranking of your collectible is transferred when you sell it?
We haven't really nailed down the marketplace, but I would say yes, just in terms of typical like NFT trading. If you grinded and got a specific leveled up character, like we're very much in that avenue. I just can't promise that right now, but like, yeah, that's our intention, is that if somebody like levels up a character, let's say Cletus, for example, the monstrosity, gets to a certain level and then like can trade that on a marketplace. Those are the ownership assets, and that what's like the perks of being on like Web3 and NFT and crypto. So you'll be able to trade your assets. And yeah, I would say that it's pretty safe to assume that if you grinded up a character, you'll be able to sell it for the level that you grinded it up for.
Yeah, awesome. And then speaking of selling characters and stuff, one of the big talking points in Web3 and gaming is play to earn. Mm-hmm. Do you guys plan on incorporating any type of play to earn aspects to your game?
I would say like play to earn, play and earn, all the different types of terms. I'll kind of give an example of like what we're going to be doing. Like I wouldn't say like you could like grind for like a token or anything like that. That's like inflationary. I would say it's very much NFT focused. So kind of back to like what we were just talking about in terms of like NFTs and stuff like that. If you pour a lot of time into the game in terms of NFTs and all that stuff, like you'll be able to make some money. But at the same time, like it's the primary focus isn't like play to earn. It's like really just a fun game and making sure that we're sticking to the fundamentals in terms of like a fun game, and then NFTs earn some, and our earning is like more of like a secondary trait, not so much like the first thing that you're coming in. Like I think it's a mentality, the mentality of like coming in and like being able to play a game is like, I'm going to earn coin today, versus like, hey, I'm going to go play a fun game. And I got these NFTs. It's like, oh, cool, I could sell these. That's kind of like the epiphany that we want people to have. It's not so much like I'm coming in here to like extract value from the system.
Yeah, and I think the way that you're talking about doing it is the way that it needs to be done. I mean, the play to earn model sounds nice. Get on, earn money. Oh, I'm making a living playing Axie Infinity. But as we've seen, I don't think anyone has been able to figure out how to do it correctly without, their token price tanking, and then the interest in the game just leaving. And how many games are out there that are play to earn that nobody's playing because they can't earn anything? They don't actually have fun playing the game. So they're like, well, I can't earn, so I'm just leaving this game. And it just dies.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what it boiled down to. Like it's if you lead with the token and earning first, you kind of produce like a mercenary type of culture where, and we saw this a lot in the bull market of 2021, was like people hopped from one game to another game because the yield was greater, not so much that the game was funner, but like that would say like that's like really what we're trying to do, is that we're trying to entice people through like the fun of the game, not so much how much they could earn, because that's kind of just the race to the bottom in our opinion.
Yeah.
And like there's always somebody, a new game that has fresh liquidity, that's going to be able to entice people to earn. But it's very hard, like one percenters that could only produce a fun game that's addicting and that has a really good gameplay loop and understands the fundamentals. There's only a few games out there that can compete at that specific type of level, and we feel as if Azra Games is one of those people that can compete.
Yeah. I guess, speaking of just other Web3 games and stuff, what do you think needs to happen in the space to kind of move, blockchain gaming forward, like to get out to the general gaming population? Because I come from the gaming space, and a lot of traditional gamers, they don't like NFTs and they don't like crypto. I guess, what do you think needs to happen to kind of get it into more people's hands?
Yeah, and I think there's a language shift and a cultural shift that's happening for like NFTs to digital assets. I don't know if you've been kind of seeing that. So softening some of like the culture there would probably be better. And I think it needs to come from just an enticing game that gamers would like to play, period. Like me and you, right? Like I would say, like, we play games right now for the fun of them and escapism. And that's really what we're trying to target. So until we can match that specific type of thing, which like what we're trying to do, it's very hard to entice them over. And yes, you can do education as well. So there's like many different pillars. So like, yes, the cultural type of thing, where like crypto is also in a bear market. The whole market is in a bear market.
Yeah.
And like that obviously makes like negative sentiment towards high risk assets, which like ours are. And then like mostly moving into the pillar of education, like a lot of people don't understand what like a non-fungible token is, and really what the power of it is. And like even like the data analytics that can happen through NFTs. And then lastly to like the gameplay is just not there. And like we know a lot of people currently in the space that are building towards that. But we also understand when we're in those networks is that like these games take a long time to build. So like, that funding curve, like through like all these like great investors, like Andreessen and NFX, like, you get funded, but it takes like 1 to 2 years to release. And then based on like what you're making, could be 3 to 5 years. Right. So I would say that's like the one thing, once that specific starts kicking in, we'll start seeing a more of a flood of like actual like streamers and actual gamers that be like, oh, I'll play this game. Oh, this is cool. I get to earn some things. I get to earn this NFT. And then like progressively, as we get like more out there, compete with mainstream games, then you see the benefits of like the blockchain and like digital assets of like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I saw Shark kill somebody on a YouTube clip with this specific token ID. And now I get to own it. And I could put that into like my museum and my safe for that. And like, there's going to be a collector out there that collects influencer relics. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's like way down the road. And there's even white label services that are going to come out and pop up. And that's going to make it easier for indie developers to make money off of a lot smaller audience. Right. You're 1,000 true fans. It's very hard for people, especially game developers, to make money off of 1,000 true fans, especially in secondary royalties and all that stuff. But if there's a third party service or white label service that can let them kind of bootstrap, entice their markets, you'll start getting those like Among Us, but like on blockchain and crypto and all that stuff. And that's going to be fun. That's going to be adoption. So virality happens. So I think there's just like a progressional step right now. All of us are super early. And so we do need to combat a lot of things. And the noise has kind of died down since the bear market. And maybe people feel just sorry for us, but a lot of people are building right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, everyone when things are up, they're all like, oh, I wish I would have bought in, and my God, I missed out. And then like when it's down, they're like, yeah, this is my time to shit on you. But they're not buying in. And then when it's back up again, they'll be like, dang, I wish I should have bought in. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just how it is, man. There was always that like a picture meme of like that super long line at like a Bitcoin at like 60K. And then like there's only like 2 people in line on like the right side with like BTC at like 17K or something like that.
Yeah. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I did want to talk more about there were two utilities to the hopeful that I read about. You mentioned access to IRL events. Do you guys have any IRL events currently planned?
Not right now. So like we do have some stuff that we are going to be like doing for like NFT NYC and all that stuff. But as of right now, like no like detailed planning. Like in real life events, we do have like a cool thing, but we're gonna keep that one close to our chest a little bit. Yeah, it's for some of our active community members, but we'll make sure that we're gonna be doing some in real life events for Azra, and then we have another something bubbling in the future pertaining to some NFTs.
All right, and then the other thing that interests me is it said other yet to be disclosed benefits that our attorneys won't let us reveal, but we believe will be certain to spark surprise and delight. Will the attorneys let you reveal that today?
Absolutely not. But I will say, like, okay, so I want to give a shout out to our attorney, Dan Offner. He did he does a lot of like legal cases before for a lot of game studios that people would recognize. I won't name them. He was the general counsel for like Oculus Rift before they were acquired. So like he knows this. He understands like the legality of like crypto. He's come in here for like the challenge of it to take on. And this guy has 30 years of experience in terms of that. And so he's protecting us. And we do that. We poke fun a little bit at that, but like it's also serious for the fact that like we want to make sure that our holders are also not like, you know, going to get hurt by the law, you know, down the road. And that could be an issue for us. And so we want to make sure that like Dan's working with us and we make sure that we are a little bit more cautious than probably the typical, but just for the fact that we can make sure that the game comes out, people are really excited, onboard millions of players, as well as the people that hold these NFTs are safe in terms of like the SEC and all that kind of stuff too. So like we have to be very careful on the way that we surprise and delight. Like for example, like we did an airdrop on Wednesday, but like we didn't like really forecast that before because like people were going to make decisions based on that specific piece of knowledge. We just were like, hey, this is what we're doing. And now, so it was like a very like quick surprise and delight. And so you can expect more of that from us like as we progress through this, but we can't just like telegraph it for the fact that like we want to make sure that we're abiding by like what our lawyer says and making sure that the SEC doesn't come down on us too.
Yeah. I mean, currently they're going after Bored Ape, so it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Because
we're rooting for him.
Yeah, 100%, and definitely, you know, there definitely needs to be some sort of regulation within the space because there are projects that are doing shifty, shady stuff and bad actors out there. So it is good that you guys have your I's dotted and your T's crossed with your legalities.
Yeah.
You know, we are hosting this show. I don't know if Slater Aid's in the sandbox in our social hub, but do you guys have any plans to do anything with the sandbox or in the sandbox?
As of right now, we talked to Sebastian the other day. We were just talking with him. We just got to know his project and he got to know ours and stuff like that. But that's kind of like as much as like we're doing right now. We're opening up an account on Sandstorm, just exploring specific options, but nothing completely in terms of like the short to medium term. But long term, I would love to incorporate some things for sure.
And then, you know, besides Sandbox, is there any other metaverses that you guys have explored, I guess, getting involved with?
Not right now, really, because like our IP is still kind of like not shifting. We have a very good understanding of like what our IP is, but there's still like a lot of things that are up in the air. And so we want to make sure that like we have that solidified within our studio and really focus on like the release of our game. And then from there, if like our IP is successful and all that stuff, we can start incorporating it into like other metaverse projects. So yeah, we're a little conservative on the partnership aspect of too.
Yeah. Now, you know, Azra is a game studio. You know, are you guys currently, you know, only working on the one game, or do you guys have more games as of right now that you guys are already like drawing up and planning out?
No, right now we're just focused purely on legions. So we have a very actually lean team. So we have 39 recently from the last 2 hires. And so we have like 39 people that are working there. And so concept art to everybody's wearing multiple hats. And like we don't have enough bandwidth as of right now to create like other games. There is like idea creation and like R&D, research and development. for different mechanics, but like everybody is purely focused on Legions and Legends first and foremost. And then once we probably get it to a different stage, we'll start thinking about other things. But as of right now, Legions and Legends, full stop.
Awesome. Well, that's pretty much every question that I have. I usually like to ask, where would you like to see, I guess, not specifically Azra in like the next 4 to 6 months, but I guess Legions and Legends. Like where would you like to see out of Legions and Legends, and I guess anything that you can give to the community?
Yeah, I'll talk about it from a community standpoint first. From a community standpoint, like I would love to have like a very tight knit group that are like just ambassadors for Legions and Legends. Like they are the Legionnaires, and so for us, like just getting them completely in love with like our story and our lore and like our art. I was showing some like sneak peeks to some of the guys last night on voice chat, and they were like super pumped, right? And so like that's like where I would like to see like more of that. Would like to have like a gameplay trailer for people that are like know that we're not messing around. And our trailer shows an indication of that, but our game is going to be even more of that, like our gameplay trailer. And we have Neil Padje, who's done the trailer and produced that, but like he's made gameplay trailers for Apex Legends, Star Wars, KOTOR, like all that kind of stuff. Sorry, not KOTOR, the Old Republic. And so like there's like a lot of things that like we're really excited for to show that like we are AAA quality capable and level. Trailer being one of them, but that I also understand like I'm a gamer, we want gameplay. And so 6 months from now, be able to showcase like really what the studio is really good about. For people that are like in the hopeful, like we do seminars with like Dave Gibbons, and like we have one with the game designer tomorrow. So like those people have a good indication, but I want to really show the world really what Legions and Legends is all about. So the hopeful understand like, some animations, Cletus and like Legionnaires, they get the early concept art, but I want the world to really know like who we are and like that we're here to compete with just anybody. So that's what I would like to see in 6 to 8 months.
All right. Awesome. Well, I don't want to take up any much more of your time. I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Oh, it was great, man. Sharp, you're awesome. Awesome host. Sorry for rambling too much.
No, you're an awesome guest. You answered the questions perfectly, and I think we had a great conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate you coming on once again. Thank everyone for watching, and we will be live again tomorrow. I don't like saying the times because they keep switching the times on me. So
the grind is real.
It could be 12 Eastern or it could be 1 Eastern. Y'all might as well just be here at both times.
Perfect. Like and subscribe. Yeah.
And everyone have a great rest of your day.